Hi, this is Dana, and God is guiding me to talk in this video a little bit more about the previous topic, namely about bondage breaking by animals. And God said, if you approach this topic, then you have to give more clarifications now so people will understand what's the purpose of it. Um, it's a broad topic. This is why it comes in so many videos. Um, Essentially, what happens is that there are souls which are trapped in bondage. There are souls which are claimed by darkness. We are not talking how it got to that point. We are talking about um, essentially what's the situation. And the situation is that those souls are blocked from incarnating in human form because of a bondage, a fake karma which was created on them. Okay, if they are incarnating, they cannot survive. The bondage is so strong that they will die immediately. In Part of the bondage is to not be able to incarnate in human form. Um, and if that bondage is not broken for them, they cannot incarnate in human form. Um, this happens, you must be aware that this happens usually with souls which brought a tremendous contribution to the ascension and helped humankind in huge ways. I mean, they don't do this for everyone. They do this for individuals who actually had a huge contribution, and their presence on Earth it's precluding them from doing whatever they want to do. Um, this matrix, I mean. So, for example, I'll give you examples of individuals which have been murdered under bondage, so they won't be able to incarnate. I'll give you, for example, Prince, who was killed 6 years ago. It's been said that it was because of some pills. He was not doing drugs. I already investigated that, and I wrote about him, and I explained he was murdered. He was just taking killers, and essentially they killed him. They essentially injected poison in his system. He was killed. Similarly with Michael Jackson, these are people who, through their work, they have brought a tremendous contribution on Earth. Um, and I spoke a little bit more about Prince. I explained the spiritual fight he carried on, and with a sigil that he adopted, and so. But you have others like JFK and Robert Kennedy, who were killed like 60 years ago, and nobody still didn't clarify any of these murders. You have Marilyn Monroe, who died at the same time, and again, it was not clarified how she died, and it wasn't even clarified if that was her body. Everybody knows about these cases, that there were clear signals that this was a murder. She was involved with the mafia. She was threatening to give away secrets, and so on. These are cases of murder, and not all of them are souls from God's lineage, but many of them are old souls which brought tremendous contribution, and even their way, their lifestyle, for some of them, was affected and constrained by bondages created before they incarnated in human form. Like I gave the example with the two puppies which were poisoned and thrown into my courtyard. The bondage was it was created in their human form. For somebody to say that they were just bumps, just homeless souls, individuals who were killed in a fight, and then when they were in human form, they were presented as being drunk and just got into a fight and they were killed because they were no good, and so on. That was not the case. That was also a double bondage on them, but also on those who ended up in prison. And God showed me actually that all of those were souls from the same lineage, and in a single bondage, they succeeded to kill six souls from God's lineage, the two individuals poisoned, and also the four others who were accused of killing them and put in prison for life. Um, and that was not true. They were not killed by those individuals. I mean, I've seen clearly, God showed me exactly how it happened. Those individuals barely touched them, and they died because of poison, exactly like the puppies in my courtyard, you know. Now, as you go ahead and you claim justice for them, judgment and punishment, as you go ahead and you prove that that was a poisoning and the cause of death was not the one declared, and that authorities have made, I asked God, I said, why I encounter so much adversity, why I cannot have these efforts which I'm making to claim justice for them and to make complaint. Why are they fighting me so much? And God said, because the authorities who are fighting you pay careful attention, because these are the authorities who covered up for the murders, both for example, in human form, for JFK, for RFK. Um, these were cases covered by Intel in the United States, and it's shocking that after 60 years, the American authorities even now refuse to give the information about these cases. That should say a lot. Um, so essentially, breaking these bondages has a tremendous value. It has to be done with cautious and only under God's guidance. But uh, it's of tremendous importance, because they are souls which have an important role, and in your in from my perspective, from the perspective of that who does bondage breaking by animal, there are certain advantages. You gain beneficity because you help the soul break a bondage, uh, but you might also have a common bondage with that soul that you cannot break unless that soul comes in human form. You might have a bondage on you created by those souls or in their names, and you need to break that bondage for yourself, and it's not possible for you because they are not in human form, and they cannot break their own bondage. So by breaking their bondage, you free yourself, you become able to fight for yourself to break the bondage they created in their name on you. So it's much more of a complex situation. It is considered by God is a tremendous help to the ascension and bondage breaking in general. God takes further your effort, and once you succeeded to break that bondage, it must be like in this case, I succeeded to prove that they were poisoned. I fought a lot and I made a lot of formal complaints in order to be able to be allowed by authorities to actually write down exactly what happened, because they were forcing me to write in declarations whatever they wanted, and they didn't want to listen to what I had to say. God even showed me that the complaint I made on local level was already covered up and it wasn't filed. So this is why I went further at a higher level, and from that level to a higher level, because they were also trying to cover up. They even told me, don't expect for a year from now on to hear about this, because this takes time. And indeed, it happened in June. We are in January, and I still didn't hear about the investigations, what happened, and so on. But I succeeded in proving that they were poisoned. I was inspired enough to take the bodies to necropsy immediately, because otherwise, the bodies would have been altered by the heat outside and wouldn't have been able to prove. And since the authorities refused to take them, I succeeded to take them to necropsy, and I got official documents from necropsy saying that that they were poisoned. I think somebody doesn't like what I say. But and I succeeded also after many complaints. I succeeded to make the police take note of that official report of being poisoned for the puppies, and to file for official investigation. which they didn't want to do in the beginning. They didn't want to do. They were blaming my dogs, and they were using this opportunity to steal my dogs because they knew already. I wrote on Facebook before that I'm doing bondage breaking through those dogs, and they wanted to steal them from me. This was the purpose, you know. They wanted to steal those dogs from me, exactly like in the bondage in human form, to take my dogs as being guilty for killing those puppies, and to take them away from me, exactly like in the bondage in human form, like taking them to this dog prison places where they kill the dogs, you see. So it repeats itself. If you don't break that, it repeats itself no matter in which form the soul incarnates. I succeeded, of course, to keep my dogs, and I do not intend to make any compromises. My dogs stay with me. um, they are not doing harm to anyone. They are just pretending, and they are aggressing my dogs constantly. They throw stones at my dogs in my own courtyard. The next door neighbor uses technology, psychotronic technology, put next to my fence to attack my dogs, and so on, which is illegal. It's illegal. You're not allowed to do that. But still, he does it. I had fights with him. I asked him to take that machinery from my fence. I said, put it in your courtyard. Don't put it next to my fence. And he actually became verbally and physically aggressive with me, trying to hit me, and insulting me and aggressing me. So um, you must do this though, because for example, God showed me, as I broke that bondage for those puppies, he was able to send those souls in human embodiment to individuals, different individuals on earth. And he God showed me this is a process, because this helps me. I can send these souls on earth to individuals who lost their souls already. If they do redemption, I can send them these souls, because without the soul, it's impossible to do redemption, and it's impossible actually to recover from darkness. It's just impossible. And God showed me only when I send them the soul, then they will remember who they are. Their spirit will remember who they are. Without the soul, it's simply impossible. So all those people who lost their souls, they need a soul in order to come back to light. It's not possible. It's stupid for everyone who says you need to help someone who is in darkness, who lost their soul, who has done bondage on you and work with matrix against you. No, that individual without a soul cannot come back to light, and that you cannot give that a soul to that individual, no matter how much you try to help him. The only help you can give in such circumstances is to break bondage on a soul, so God can send that soul to that individual. And this is a matter between God and that individual, because this is much complex work. You cannot do it yourself, and you must carry on your own fight. But for example, God showed me for the two puppies, because I'm, of course, I put a lot of effort and work into raising these dogs, and breaking bondages for them, understanding how should be done, and so on. And I'm always protective of them. So I keep asking God, what are you doing with them? Who are you sending this soul to? And so on, and God shows me, because you broke this bondage, now this soul will be able to embody in human form. And He showed me, I sent this soul to this individual, and then God showed me what were the consequences of that. That individual was able to do certain things, and in some cases they lost the soul after that, because they went back to old habits. They went back to betraying God, the light, myself, others, and so on. And I got upset. So I said, "Why you wasted the soul I saved?" You know. And God said, "Just because this is a process. I've sent a temporary embodiment, so that spirit will remember who he is. But then it takes effort from that individual to stand to keep his soul. If that individual doesn't stay in light, he's gonna lose the soul again, of course. And this is a process. When this individual will come back and do true redemption, I will again, if he meets the criteria, I will again send the soul. Hopefully, he will fight for himself more and he will get to keep the soul. If not, he will lose the soul again. This is a process. God kept saying to me, this is a process. Even if we know that he's going to lose the soul, when he meets the criteria, that individual, he will receive the soul embodiment so he can make progress. But of course, he's going to get punished if he goes back to darkness, simply because I take the soul back, because I cannot allow for dark forces to take the soul. I will take the soul and he will fall again. That's pending to their own efforts. That's only individual effort, so this is a process. It does have, because God showed me that many people who listen to the information I put out there said this is stupid. It doesn't have any importance to do this. No, actually it does have tremendous importance to do this, because you're helping God to do his work on earth with other individuals. It doesn't really matter who are these individuals. It shouldn't matter to you. What should matter is that you're helping God to do work. You yourself, you're getting beneficity anyhow because you do this. Okay, it's not your problem what God does with those souls. I ask just because I want to know, but of course I never imagined that I have a say in front of God in deciding what should happen with those souls. It would be also silly to have this expectation, because you simply don't know much about that soul, even, or about the individual who receives the soul. Sometimes he will send the soul to an individual in a very high ranking position. It happened with one of the puppies who I saved, for a temporary embodiment, simply because that individual was supposed at that point in time to make a decision which would affect the whole humankind. And God said, I wanted him, while he makes that decision, to have a soul, to be able to actually feel the decision he's making. So to have a conscience, you know. And because I was asking, I said, but you knew that he's going to lose the soul. And he said, yes, but I needed him to make the right decision in that very moment, because it was affecting so many people. And I knew he's going to lose the soul afterwards, because he needs much work in order to stay in light. But I gave him a soul. He now knows that he has the possibility and how he will get the soul. And he's now hopefully gonna do the work at some point in order for him to receive again a soul. Hopefully next time he will fight for himself more in order to keep that soul for a longer time. So this is a process. It's very complex. It's difficult to explain in just one video. It does have tremendous importance. I'm very worried about people doing this superficially and harming those animals. But I do encourage anyone that has guidance from God and has a direct dialogue with God, which will empower them to actually break the bondage of the animals, not just use them. Um, I do encourage everyone to do this, because essentially this is helping God to do his work on earth with other individuals. And God will probably keep track of this, and he will give that soul to somebody who will help you, I imagine, in certain circumstances. And I will give you an example. He did give, for a temporary embodiment, one of these souls to one of the authorities, in order for me to be able to actually um, um, submit the full complaint in the form which was beneficial for bondage breaking, because in that complaint I was to write things which were helping to breaking the bondage, and they were precluding me to do that. They said, we are not interested in that. They said, yes, but I want to write it. This is my declaration. This is my complaint. I'm allowed to write whatever I feel, You cannot dictate to me what to write. And my point was that I want to write everything that was pertaining to that bondage, so it would be broken, So you shouldn't be worried about what others say, because you know what you're doing. I knew I was breaking bondage for those souls. I knew I had to write there, for example, I claim justice for them. I claim judgment and punishment for those guilty. For them, they said this is not the usual phrasing that we use in declaration. I said, I don't care. This is my declarations. I want to use it. For me, it was important. and it didn't matter to me what they were saying. They were saying this is stupid. No, no, it's not stupid. I knew I was doing bondage breaking for those puppies, and for me, for bondage breaking, it was mandatory to write those words. Okay, so you when you do this, you must understand that many people will go against you. You will face a lot of adversity, and many people will mock you and will think you're stupid or crazy or something. You shouldn't care about that, because God knows what you're doing. And because if you do this halfway and you compromise, and you don't write in those declarations and in those demarches what you're supposed to, then you're gonna miss the purpose, and you're not gonna break the bondage, because they will fight against it, and you don't succeed in doing that. So it shouldn't matter to you. When This is why I say, when you do bondage breaking for through animals, you go through a lot. Many people look at you, you're crazy, they gossip about you, they say you're crazy, lunatic, you say whatever. It doesn't matter. You know what you're doing, and you know that you're working with God. Nobody should matter to you. And God is seeing each and every one of them, and they will get punished, because through all that gossip and all those bondages created on you, they essentially actually try to stop you from bondage breaking for that dog, and God will punish them for this, to be very clear. But you shouldn't care. That's the point. You shouldn't stop. You shouldn't care. You shouldn't just go straight. Do what God tells you to do. Do what you know is important for bondage breaking. It doesn't matter who says what, because you know it's a higher purpose in everything you do. And you know that once you win, you have done something spectacular. You saved a soul. That's not easy to do, you know. And you never save a soul by just doing energy healing and having long discussions with them, and so, but you save a soul like this, breaking a bondage for them, so they would be able to incarnate and to embody, you know. So it shouldn't matter to you, because God will make justice for you. One day He will clear your name, one way or another. And God says to me that sometimes He tells me to talk about this bondage breaking about through animals, because all these crazy bastards who killed those animals, my neighbors here, all surrounding me, all over, they have made a lot of official demarches and complaints about me raising my dogs, which is stupid, because I live in a country landscape, country style, and there are a lot of animals all around. There are cows, there are goats, there are all sorts of animals everywhere. There are horses there. So they shouldn't actually care what I do in my own courtyard. I raise my dogs, is my problem, it's not their problem. They don't bother anyone. They are in my courtyard. And again, they actually were making the marches to take my dogs, because they said they would have killed two puppies in my courtyard, which again through the law, they were allowed to do. The puppies were not supposed to get into my courtyard. You know, who threw them there should answer why the puppies were there. Not to mention that anyhow, not my dogs killed them, they were poisoned, you know. So this is what I say, they create a lot of bullying and a lot of aggression around you to stop you from doing this. So you must know that this is a very harsh bondage if they cannot incarnate in human form. So when you take this upon yourself, you take upon yourself a lot of adversity, and many will come to haunt you and to attack you. But you should just, you know, if you decide to do this, you should know that it's a tremendous help to God, first of all. And you gain a lot of beneficity. It's extremely rewarding through the work with the animals, you know. And through the lessons, the spiritual lessons which you take away from this, I must tell you, by breaking bondage for these dogs, which I raised in my courtyard, I learned a lot about how to break bondage myself, you know. Like I learned a lot about detaching, you know, how misguided empathy, you know, like when God said, you're not helping him, let him stand up and fight for himself to eat. So he will learn that if he doesn't fight for himself, he doesn't get to eat, because others eat his food, you know. So all of this you must know. You learn yourself about how you have to break bondage, and how you have to detach, and how you have to okay, so basically, this is a long video already. You learn a lot in many ways, you earn a lot in many ways. There's also a lot of adversity coming, and a lot of aggression and bullying from people who actually want to stop you. But this will reveal to you who are those working with darkness around you. And you shouldn't make any kind of compromises, because then you jeopardize your entire effort to break the bondage for those souls, you know. And it's a pity. Okay, I'm gonna stop here now. I hope I said everything that God wanted me to say. Um, Again, many of the individuals publicly known worldwide, which died, and their death was never clarified, are in this kind of situation, like these two puppies which were poisoned, and then their death was kind of transformed in a masquerade, saying that they were killed, and God showed me, that in their human form, people were saying that they were killed because they were drug addicts, because they were drunks, because they were fighting, because they were no good, because they were homeless, because they were. All of these are bondages. All of these are bondages. They, in fact, were poisoned. Okay, and many of the individuals whom we know died as being intoxicated, or in overdose and so on, they were murdered in this kind of circumstances, and the murder was covered up with this kind of things. And I gave only two examples, Prince and Michael Jackson. And in Michael Jackson's case, it was his doctor who gave him that to drink. So what do you want more than this to show you? And he got to prison, but of course it was not the doctor who was behind the murder. You have to understand this, you know. And it was the same case with Prince, who was just taking a painkiller, and he went to a pharmacy in the neighborhood to buy the pills. Okay, so he went to buy the pills there, and God showed me specifically that he didn't even die because of pills, that there was an injection done to him. There was some kind of poisoning which was injected in his body. You know. Anyhow, um, I will stop here. There's a lot, much more investigation that I'm doing only on the cases which I am guided by God to do. But otherwise, know that this type of bondage has been created in human form on many individuals whom we've heard of, whom we know, but nobody cares to fight for them and to clarify the situation, which that should say a lot. And you can help that process by doing bondage breaking through animals, um, if God allows it, and when God allows it, because it's very complicated endeavor to take on. I'm gonna stop here. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, so we will spread the knowledge I'm sharing to as many people as possible. Um, and if you feel inclined to support my work and my channel, you'll find in the description box below the information to my PayPal account, and also a wish list on Amazon. Thank you.